Peace and blessings, family. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about one's unlimited credit plan and getting you guys funded. A lot of people in these times are looking for funding. Well, a lot of people are unaware that they're able to tap into their unlimited credit plan to help acquire funding. And there's also tons of business funding and grants being given out, at this time as well too. So ultimately, I wanted to come here for each and every single one of you guys and break down what one's unlimited credit plan is and show you guys how through every single transaction you guys are the creditor and to start acting as such and moving as such, and never are you guys the borrower nor the lender. So I got my guy Oliver over here as well. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen for you too, bro. We're gonna dive right into it. We'll be here pretty quick, in and out. I want this live to be something for you guys to be able to go back and study and look into, down the road. So if you guys are just tuning in, if this is your guys' first time being here, welcome. I am starting, and I got to change my banner. We got to rebrand a whole bunch of new things, right? So every Tuesday and every Friday, we will be going live. Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So every Tuesday and every Friday, you guys will be able to see me here on YouTube. And, ultimately, I look forward to continuing to grow. Tuesday will be credit calls, whether that's business credit, whether that's personal credit, whether that's, just me coming here and giving you guys insight into more consumer law teachings. And then Friday, we're going to have our investment calls, where we're focusing, and especially going into the end of the year, on different tax strategies for investing into multifamily. But that's where we've been putting our focus towards really this whole year, is building and developing our multifamily fund, which now we have 417 units within our fund. So it's been a blessing just to be able to step into the space and not just step into it, but, really, step in and, and go all in as well. So I'm grateful for such. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys as we're waiting for me to pull this up. Drop in the chat box one thing that you guys are all grateful for. Drop in the chat box one thing that you guys are all grateful for. I'm gonna go ahead and end the Zoom too then, Oliver. I see you tuned in on the YouTube, brother. We are streaming here as well too on Twitch. I'm looking to grow my Twitch as well. So if y'all are kind enough, y'all like the value, definitely make sure to go check out our Twitch. Follow us on there as well too, and send this to any of your people that also tune in to Twitch. I'm not too familiar with the platform. I just got a streaming service where I'm on both, the both platforms here on YouTube and stream and what's it called? Twitch. And we will be getting other platforms up as well. We will be going live here soon on LinkedIn. We're building our LinkedIn platform. I was recently wiped from my Instagram and my Facebook from Meta for posting on my Facebook account about the boarding schools and all this indigenous information. So, it's just something that we've had to transition and pivot and build other platforms. And that's why I've been even more so looking to put more focus back here into YouTube, because ultimately that's where I believe I've gotten the most traction at, over the past 2-3 years. And, YouTube is what's paid me as well. No other platform has ever paid me. And then in the meantime, I'm looking to grow my TikTok. So you guys will see me live on TikTok a lot more. And, so ultimately I look forward just to continue to grow with you guys all and provide you guys all value. So I'm grateful for all of you guys being here. I'm grateful for the movement. I'm grateful for just everything that has led up ultimately to this point. It's truly a blessing. So without further ado, we're going to hop right here into Deuteronomy 15. So, I'm not here to preach to not any one of you guys, but, and I've talked about this time and time again, and it's beautiful because I got my book coming here very soon that I'm going to be releasing to the public. And, we're going to look to drop it within the first month of the new year. So January, we're going to be looking to drop it, and it's going to have a hard copy. We'll be on all platforms, Amazon, etc. You guys will be able to purchase and, receive this book. But it's going to be breaking down, the scripture. It's going to be breaking down this more in depth Deuteronomy 15, Title 15 more in depth. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys out for the sake of the live your insight into one's unlimited credit plan. How is it unlimited? Well, scripture will tell you such, right? So many of us have heard, you that all debts and, you know, will be canceled after 7 years, right? This is where this comes from, right? Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion didn't just come up with this, and we got to also remember new year. I think we might be frozen on the stream too. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? My screen is frozen. Hey, bro. Well, let me see. Let me close a couple things. Hear me right now?
Okay. If you were going to do anything today for your content, let it be this.
Me, because it's fine. I can just continue talking. All right, y'all. We might be back. We might be back. Okay. We live. We live.
If you stay in bed, if you stay on the couch.
Goodness, what is wrong? All right, family. We good? We good? We back? We back? Y'all let me know. I think we are good. Let's get this blur out of here. All right, there we go. We posted up. All right, family. I think we are good. We back. We back. We better than ever. You're kind of going in and out. Yeah. Not sure what happened. I think we started talking about too much information. No, my laptop's just crazy. Crazy slow. It's that time. It's that time for an upgrade. All right, so what we're talking about ultimately, let's backtrack. You could drop in the comments, start at 1338. And that's where we'll get right into this information. So without further ado, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for communicating, letting me know that you guys were not able to see me on your guys' end. So I didn't just continue talking to myself. Right. So we were talking about and getting into Deuteronomy 15 and how through every single transaction, we are always the borrower. Always the creditor. We are never the borrower. So I want to get that out of our heads, right here and right now. And then I was getting into mentioning how I have my book releasing where I'm going to be going more in depth. This is why, I figured I'd continue, educating you guys on this and just the way that the book is going to give you guys a perspective into these laws and codes, and ultimately the fact that these consumer reporting agencies have absolutely little to no power. As you can see here, that they're simply an elaborate mechanism, they being the consumer reporting agencies. Well, there's over 330 consumer reporting agencies, which is what I love to bring awareness to each and every single one of you guys, because many people think it's just Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, when that is not true at all. Right? There's so many other consumer reporting agencies as well, and I wanted to put that on notice. And now we got here, consumer reporting agencies have simply assumed a vital role in assembling and evaluating consumer credit and other information on consumers. So when you get to talking about, well, they told me I was the borrower. Well, the bank told me I was the borrower. Well, the consumer reporting agency said, that this is the original creditor. Well, if we even look at the term creditor, it refers only to a person who both regularly extends, who's regularly extending. Let's think in the terms of one's credit card. If we come down here and look up the term credit card, Where's she at? It's any card, plate, coupon book, or other credit device existing for the purpose of obtaining money, property, labor, or services on credit. So when we go into school, what is that one thing that they ask us for? Our social security card. When we get a new job, what is the one thing they ask us for? Our social security card. They're not asking us for our American Express card. They're not asking us for our, Chase Sapphire credit card. They're asking us for our credit card, which is any card, plate, or coupon. When we get pulled over, what is it that the cop is asking for? License and registration, please, right? And so when we register, what is it that they're asking for as well too, right? That credit card. And so what I want you guys to understand is that every single thing is a credit transaction. Anytime that any card, plate, or coupon book is being used, and everything in commerce, is all coming from us, the creditor. We are always the creditor, the one who is always regularly extending, whether in connection with loan, sales of property or services, or otherwise consumer credit, which is payable in more than four installments, or for more, or for which the payment of a finance charge is or may be required. Anytime there's a finance charge, anytime one's credit has been pulled or one has been entered into a consumer credit transaction, meaning that their credit card has been used, a finance charge is always present and always such. So we also got to understand the term credit as a whole, because many people are unaware of credit and think that, oh, we're borrowing something from somebody. We're borrowing it from these banks. No, all right, we got to even think of what a bank is, right? A river bank, right? And what flows through the rivers? It's a current, right? And a currency, that's where the term currency comes from. Is a current that's flowing through the riverbank. And what I want you guys to understand is that the currency is energy. And none of these corporations, if we think of what a corp is, it's a dead entity. It's dead. It's death. Corpse, right? Dead. And if we think of credit, credit is life, right? So debt is death, credit is life. And with credit, the currency, the credit is coming from us always, because we are the ones with the energy providing all of these banks and giving life really to all of these dead corpse. And now all of these dead corpse, can even go out now. And who, if we even think of who's speaking on behalf of these corpse, it's, natural people. These corpse can't speak for themselves. I can't pull out my LLC and have my LLC come and speak with one or another. It's also why as well too, whenever you guys go into court or an arbitration with any of these banks, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today as well too, is arbitration. They're going to have it, they're going to be giving it to a third party attorney's office, which that right away as well will help you guys win if you guys are just any little bit of familiar with the FDCPA. Today, we're going to really be putting more focus on truth in lending, as this is where the term open-ended credit plan comes from. And this just more goes to show as how one does have an unlimited credit plan. And this is just, and I'm here to show you guys, ways to go ahead and tap into such and exercise your rights ultimately, because silence is admission. And if you don't know how to exercise your rights, well, these corporations are going to continue violating you guys against your guys' rights, because they're well aware that 90% of people, 90% of consumers are unaware of this information and how to exercise their rights. So this is why with my whole movement, I'm giving you guys the tools, to go out and exercise your rights. I'm giving you guys where to go through with the SEC, where to go through with the FTC now that the government is back, and open. We've got the CFPB complaints. There's all of these places where you as a consumer can go file complaints. And why is it such? Is because these corporations are well aware that these banks have been committing fraud, that these banks have been, out, abusing, harassing, and deceiving consumers. Drop a 3 in the chat box if you yourself have been abused, have been deceived, or have been harassed by any corporation, by any debt collector, or by any one of these consumer reporting agencies. If that is you, drop a 3 in the chat box. I want to see who also has been abused, harassed, or deceived by any one of these corporations. All right, who else can agree to such? Okay, I got Oliver. Yes, arbitration. Arbitration, is within each and every single contract as well too, just about that you guys have with all of these corporations. And so I want you guys to use the very agreement that you guys, agreed to paying the terms, to show, the breach in the agreement and the breach in the contract, ultimately to get you out of this agreement in which you've agreed to. When ultimately, if you knew how to read the truth and lending disclosure, which if we think about what section are we in right now, we're in truth and lending. Well, there's also a truth and lending disclosure. Well, within the truth and lending disclosure, there's a finance charge. The finance charge is the sum of all charges. That's the total, amount of, the credit and what it is that you guys are going out and acquiring. And if we look at the amount of finance, it's always going to tell you under the amount of credit provided to you on your behalf. Well, you being the consumer, and this is what's covering the finance charge, as this is coming from our open-end credit plan, or in other words, our unlimited credit plan. So this is where, and this is why I'm stressing and expressing this information for you guys to go out. And if you guys are paying any, monthly fees, if you guys are going out, and if you guys are, having to put down a down payment, it's okay. Go through with it. Damages have been done. Now you've got a case on your guys' hand to where now you guys can go out. A lot of times you guys are looking to be there and argue with regular consumers and regular people that, once again, 90% of people are unaware of this information. Right? But that's why the 10% don't pay taxes. That's why the 10% don't, owe debts and don't pay off debts. But if we look at the United States themselves, let's see how much debt the United States is in. So is debt really a bad thing if one of the most powerful, countries, corporations in the world is 38, what is that, trillion in debt? Is debt something that we should be scared of, or is debt something that we should be leveraging? If we think about it, even in the real estate standpoint, debt is our best friend. We're leveraging the debt and we're raising the 25 to 35% that we're putting down on the property. So we only need to put down 25 to 35%. The rest of it is debt coming from, the banks. And so once again, is debt really a bad thing? You just got to know how to leverage the debt and where to put it. And so I want to show you guys where to take actionable steps. Many of you guys are at the point where you guys have been sending off letters to them. If you guys have not been utilizing the AI debt terminator, I highly advise that you guys do such. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys, draft me up a cease and desist letter, where within the cease and desist letter, I want you to mention 15 U.S.C. 1692 CC. Let me take you guys there. Within 15 U.S.C. 1692 CC, it states that any medium, a medium is that of one's consumer report. A medium is also any form of communication other than that through mail, which is all that I, permit. I cease all efforts to further communicate with me, and I cease any alleged debt that this corporation has stated that I owe. I demand a proper debt validation and chain of title. Furthermore, they've reached out to me in pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1692 C A1 at a very unusual time, which has been very inconvenient to me as I operate a business, and all of my time goes towards my business And outside of my business, I have a family that I attend to and provide for. The times in which they've communicated with me have been very inconvenient. I demand a deletion from my consumer report of these negative accounts listed on my report. So now I'll have it draft me up a letter. There's tons that I'll do with this AI debt terminator, to the point where I even have it draft me up, different information, and, that I can be posting daily. If you guys are looking to go out and educate people, well, this is what I'm doing. If an attorney is representing a financial institution or a debt collector, I want you to use this law that I'm going to insert, and I want you to create a value add post that I'm going to put on LinkedIn, breaking down the deception that's taking place within 15 U.S.C. 1692E, number 3, the false representation or implication that any individual is an attorney or that any communication is from an attorney. And there it goes, and it gave case law study and everything as such. And here's our cease and desist letter. How many of you guys, let's go ahead and drop a 3 in the chat box again. And after you guys drop a 3, let's go ahead and send this out to 3 people. Let's send this live to 3 people. Let's also get a like on this video, because we need the likes up so more people can tune in to these teachings. Let's drop a 3, and then let's send this out to 3 people as well that can also benefit. If you know that they're having some credit problems, let's get them in tune with this information and with these teachings, and let's get them here next week live with us so that we can answer any questions that one may have. This letter serves as a formal cease and desist notice under the FDCPA, particularly 15 U.S.C. 1692 CC, which prohibits a debt collector from further communication once a consumer has notified them in writing to cease. I hereby withdraw any and all consent to be contacted via any medium outside of U.S. mail. This includes, but is not limited to, telephone calls, voicemails, emails, text messages, social media, in-person contact, reporting, or accessing my consumer report as a method of indirect communication. How many of you guys knew that them reporting anything on your consumer report was a form of communication? How many of you guys were aware of such? You could just drop me, you could drop whatever. I would love to see who was aware of this. And then I'm going to give you guys a couple accounts to help you guys, and some banks that I would love for you guys to look into. If you guys are looking for any mortgage lending, I have a mortgage lender that, will lend whether you've got perfect credit or not. Granted, obviously, the better the credit is in your report, the better the percentages that you guys will be getting. But if one is looking for a mortgage and lending, or any type of lending, credit card, business lending, I'm going to give you guys a couple different resources as well. Okay. So my consumer report is a protected medium. Under the spirit and function of 15 U.S.C. 1692 CC, any communication through any medium other than U.S. mail is now prohibited. This includes any presence or data posting within my consumer reports, which I consider a form of indirect communication. Furthermore, under 15 U.S.C. 1692 CA1, you've reached out to me during times that are clearly inconvenient as a business operator with a limited schedule and responsibilities to my family. Your timing has caused significant disturbance and stress. I now formally demand the following: immediate cessation of all communication attempts outside of U.S. postal mail, proper debt validation under 15 U.S.C. 1692G, and it's requesting the things as such, immediate deletion of any and all trade line entries or derogatory data associated with this alleged account from my consumer reports across all 3 major, I'll change that up to consumer reporting agencies, until and unless you provide full validation and legal documentation establishing the legitimacy and ownership of the alleged debt. You are to cease all collection efforts, data furnishing, and third-party communication regarding this matter. Failure to comply will result in immediate reporting of your violations with the CFPB, FCC, in consideration for civil action of violations of the FDCPA. You are now on legal notice. I'll even throw in, arbitration, and the fact that I'm well aware that within our agreement, we've got, an arbitration agreement, and if we can't come to terms to agree, and to such, then I will simply take this to arbitration, because just the arbitration fees alone are going to cost these corporations thousands of dollars. I showed on the last live, just getting the process started. I'm in, arbitration case right now, and they've already had to pay over $5,000 just to go ahead and get this started. The debt itself of the credit card, the college credit card that I had, was like a $1,100 credit card. So now, and they even hired a third party attorney's office, which is why I dropped that value add post for you guys. Because it's something I'm going through personally, and I wanted to give you guys insight to such as well too. So I want you all to go find your agreements, go find your contracts, and look for the arbitration agreement. You guys all should be taking notes. Everybody should have their notebooks out, because note takers are money makers. Right? You guys will only be able to retain about 5% of this information. When you guys start to take notes, the percentage of what you guys are retaining will drastically increase. So let's make sure we're taking notes, because I promise you guys, with everything that goes on in this world, you guys will not be able to retain this information. So make sure you guys go look for your arbitration agreement within your contract, as well as the truth and lending disclosure. So let's get back on track with 15 U.S.C. 1605 and the determination of a finance charge. And it shows here that the amount of the finance charge in connection with any consumer credit transaction shall be determined as the sum of all charges. Drop in the comment section, what does it mean to be the sum? What does the sum mean to you? What does the sum of all charges mean to you? Boom, ding, ding, ding. Oliver, always on time, brother. I love it. Exactly. It's, the sum of 3 plus 3 is always going to be 6. Right? So coming back here and really just tying in Deuteronomy 15, let me finish going through this as well too. Every creditor shall cancel any loan they have made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payments from anyone amongst their own people, because the Lord's time for canceling debts has been proclaimed. You may require payment from a foreigner. Well, I'll tell you this much: we're not the foreigner, but you must cancel any debt from your fellow Israelite owes you. Well, we are such. However, there need be no poor people among you, yet there's tons of people that are very much homeless and in poverty. And if we look at who's flooding the streets with such, it makes sense, right? For in the land, the Lord, if we go around the world, I've traveled the world, gratefully, thankfully, and there's not, homeless, like there is here, in other parts of the world. In Japan, I don't think I've seen one homeless person. In Peru, I maybe seen 2 homeless people. If only you fully obey the Lord your God and careful to follow all these commands I'm giving to you, for the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised, and you will lend to many nations, but you will borrow from none. So never are we the borrower in any situation. The 7th year, the year of canceling debts, is near, so that you do not show ill will toward the needy among your fellow Israelites and give them nothing. They may they may then appeal to the Lord against you, and you will be found guilty of sin. Give generously to them and do so without a grudging heart. And because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand into. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open handed toward your fellow Israelites who are poor and needy in your land. Something I want y'all all to take with you guys and live by. Title 15, Commerce and Trade. Makes sense why Title 15 goes hand in hand with Deuteronomy 15. Commerce and Trade. If we're aware of 28 U.S.C. 3002, we can come here and see that everything within a corporation, well, we're not coming here to see that, but we're coming here to see that the United States is a federal corporation. And that led me to talking about how everything within a corporation is commerce and trade. So if we come here to chapter 41, this is where we have our Consumer Credit Protection Act. Nowhere in here is there a Consumer Debt Protection Act, because debt is what? I want you all to drop in the comment section. Debt is an illusion. All right, we got the book coming soon. Debt is an illusion. Y'all may be wondering at the beginning of the live, what's the book going to be called? All right, get ready to hear how more in depth as to why debt is an illusion. I'm just giving y'all surface level stuff right now. Y'all will get the whole whammy jammy, all of the good stuff come the release of the book. So we're here in Truth and Lending, which is the first part of sets. And then it states that the Congress found that the economic stabilization would be enhanced. So the economy would be enhanced and the competition amongst different banks and other firms engaged in the extension of consumer credit would be strengthened by the informed use of credit. So if we were properly informed upon the use of our credit, it would actually help the economy, and actually the economy would be growing and would be that much better. How many of you feel that the economy should be and would be doing much better if we were all informed upon such, and if we were all aware that we are the creditor in every single transaction? That's why so many individuals, within specific, groups, do build and are much more wealthy and do own and control much of what we see today. And that's why, they've put in place the schooling system, to, keep you guys, just distracted with how to be an employee and never how to go out and leverage and borrow from these, and not even borrow, but acquire from, and these banks and get 0% interest rates. I could assure you guys that there's specific groups and races, or I wouldn't even say races, but specific groups of people that go out to the banks and get 0% interest loans. And that's why these individuals do own, what they own, such as the media, such as the banking systems, such as, who owns the banking systems? Go read the Creature on Jekyll Island. I highly recommend it to each and every single one of you guys. There's, specific people that run, this whole world. If we look at what's going on right now in the Middle East, those same people who are taking over, the indigenous lands of Gaza, are the same people whom I'm referring to. And those people can go out to the banks and they can go out and, ask for, loans with and receive loans from 0% interest, because ultimately it's coming from us, and they're just, leveraging the banks to go out and tap into such in these accounts, and they're able to build, and that's why there is no poor people amongst their people, right? And it's a cold world, and if you know better, you would do better. And so that's why we're here educating you guys on this information. And we got the finance charge. Let's see, we broke down, such. And so once again, family, I want you all to get very familiar with the terms within Truth and Lending, the definitions of each. This will help you guys tremendously. I want you to start leveraging the AI Debt Terminator. If you guys are wondering, how can I leverage it? Well, come here to billionairesclub.com Make sure you guys are all a part of YBS University. This is the only community that I have, open to the public currently for anybody to get access to and join and partner with what it is that we have going on. Other than that, we've shifted our focus to helping individuals get funding and acquire funding. So if you yourself are looking to acquire funding and separate your personal and your business finances, if you guys are at the point where you guys have a business and you guys have, your credit in order, your consumer reports, we can acquire maximum funding up to 150K, and our business does get a percentage for helping you guys acquire such, and we'll have the contracts and everything, such, to help you guys go out and acquire the funding. But this is where we've shifted focus more so in the credit space. Rather than helping people with credit repair, we're helping individuals that have taken action on the teachings that I've provided over the years to go out and discharge their own debts. Well, if you guys don't have the time, all of you guys have the 5 seconds. As you guys seen, it took no more than 5 to 10 seconds to literally come here. I pulled up the consumer law, which I've shown you guys over the years, along with and with you guys getting access to YBS University. You guys will get everywhere and know what to put into this AI and know how to talk to it, know the language ultimately of consumer law to help you even draft up a letter just like this, which I found this very simple. And all of you guys can get access to this actually as well too if you text us at our business number. So text the word billions to 305 575 2843, so you guys can get access to our community where I will be dropping this exact letter so that you guys can go out and utilize. And I guarantee you, if you guys use this, in any CFPB report, you guys will definitely get some deletions, especially with any from any debt collectors. They'll debt collectors cease and desist works like, you know, it works like magic. And from the deletion is admission to them, admitting to violating federal law. Now you can go out and take them through arbitration. Now you can go out and, seek remedy from the damages that were done. Now you got evidence of the damages that were done. And the court of law is not what you know, but it's always what you can prove. Well, if I can prove that, well, y'all were reporting this information, which was inaccurate, which if we go through the FCRA, right, the whole banking system is dependent upon fairness and accuracy. And so for inaccuracies alone, you guys can get paid tons of money just for inaccuracies alone. Well, that's why constantly these banks are being sued, left and right. If we come here to the CFPB newsroom, if you go to the SEC newsroom, you guys are seeing lawsuits with these banks left and right. The CFPB reaches settlement with First Cash Inc. Right? CFPB, let's see, amends wise order for remittance practices. Let's see. You guys can come in if you guys were a part of any of these, reliefs or, of these violations. You guys can get relief for such. All right. So the CFPB does pay out. They are paying individuals. They order Wise to pay 2.5 million for illegal remittance practices. So these are things that are constantly taking place. Let's come here to the SEC newsroom. Let's come here to the FTC newsroom. Right? How many of you guys were aware that you can even see these articles and know about this information and know that which banks are being sued by, such? Mm, I didn't know this one. Come on, for all my business owners. Y'all know about Duns and Bradstreet. They themselves are just like TransUnion. So I say this all to say, the money's there, family. These lawsuits are for y'all to go out and seek remedy. Something I do want to take note of. All right, family. So let's see. I'm gonna leave you guys with a couple different accounts to go ahead and ultimately to build out your reports as well. These are things that you want to have on your consumer report. Yes, the Duns number. Don't step on my cord. You don't know, now you know. Feel me? I was at 5552. All right, for me. So ultimately, I believe that this, drop, the word unlimited credit plan. If I, showed you guys ultimately, giving you guys insight as to how each and every single one of you guys has an unlimited credit plan, that doesn't mean that you can go to the dealership and that they're going to know exactly what you're talking about. But it does mean that through the paperwork and through court, and court does start in the mail. So you guys can send out letters, you guys could file CFPB complaints, all of these other regulator complaints. That does mean that they are in violation, and they are that just because they've just because they're reporting something that is on your account, that doesn't mean it's accurate. So just because you have an agreement with them, that doesn't mean that necessarily you're obligated to pay and such, especially if they've breached their own contract. And that's why truth in lending is very important, of knowing such, knowing the truth in lending disclosure, knowing about arbitration, and if there are any claims that it ought to be settled through such. But yet they've gone through and they sold your debt. Let's say the account closed and they charged it off, and then they sold it to a third party debt collector. Well, that was a claim that that was them attempting to communicate with us by then selling us our information, which is also an invasion of our privacy. And then they then have breached their contract even further by not settling it through arbitration, as everything ought to be settled through arbitration, as it very very clearly says that in the agreements. And so ultimately, that's what I wanted to leave you guys with today. And let me see. Now I got a couple of accounts, actually. My phone. So some accounts to help you guys build out your reports. I did say I was going to leave you guys with some banks as well too. Rental Karma. Use the promo code CreditGotti, and you guys will get like $25 off. We've got Bright Money, especially my guy Oliver. You 17 years old. You can apply for these accounts and be able to start building your credit. We've got Credit My Rent, another one to build your credit as well by reporting rents. We've got accounts like Moneyline. We've got accounts like Finger Hut. These are all, I'd recommend you guys go out and finance some furniture. I'd recommend you guys go out and finance some jewelry. I'd recommend you guys go out and finance a vehicle. Get these heavy trade lines on your guys' reports. So now once you guys have these on your reports, now you guys can go out, and I recommend, leveraging the system. What I mean by that is keep them in good standing. Now I can go out and acquire 2 to 3 times such through a personal loan. Put down a secured loan, not a secured credit card, put down a secured loan. Because ultimately all of this is going to come back full circle, and how to tap into the unlimited credit plan and get paid today. Let's say there is a default or delinquent or a derogatory account. Take these corporations to arbitration. ADR.org. Or the AA, American Arbitration Association. And so a couple banks as well too. Let's go ahead and leave you guys off with the banks. How many of you guys have a business? Drop the word business down below if you guys have a business. I'm gonna let you guys know what banks do give the best funding. Some different, gas cards you guys can use are like Fuelman. You guys can get up to $150,000 as well with your guys' business for working capital from companies like Fundbox. Different banks I recommend for your guys' business is a bank called Dover Federal. That's Dover Federal, right? The Citizens Bank. We've got, let's see, where's she at? Uplift Capital. Let's see, we got some more here as well. Let me find it. I recommend a lot of the bigger banks as well too, like Chase. I don't recommend Wells Fargo. Liberty Bank. And then what was the bank? MNT. MNT. I'm looking to get in partnership with MNT. My business partner, who's in the steel industry, has got hundreds of millions of, loans from MNT specifically. So if you guys are looking to get connected directly to a lender with MNT, I can help you guys with such as well. But ultimately, we've been building out our connections with these banks, with these institutions, and with the lenders, of such. And so if you guys are looking to acquire any type of funding and tap into that unlimited credit plan, make sure to reach out to us and text us at 305-575-2843. Other than that, if you guys are looking to, discharge any debt and go through and take these corporations through arbitration and get remedy, make sure to join U.S.C University and get access to our AI debt terminator to help you throughout the whole process. Of you guys getting remedy, and the AI debt terminator used to only be open and accessible to our mentorship. I have given it now accessibility to those within the university as well. And you guys will also get access to our weekly calls within U.S.C University as well. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for your time. That's, truly the biggest gift that anybody could ask of. And for how should I leverage Moneyline? There's actually, a cash advance loan that you can get. And so you can just, I'd receive that, get that, money and put it into, something that's going to bring you back some more money and look to pay that off. But that's just a smaller trade line ultimately that you can get to report on your consumer report as well. That will help you. Any other questions? I want to leave this time really quick before we do head out of here for some questions. Great question. My guy Oliver. We'll be here for about 2 minutes. Nothing, no more questions.
Hello.
Where's Goody?
You're in a class right now?
In the class is crazy. I'm hosting the class.
Duh, that's what I mean.
Yeah, we the teacher. We the teacher. We live right now on the tube. We got 8 people. We ending it up right. We're wrapping it up. So I wanted to tap in with you. Last question here. How does transferring limits to other cards work? How does transferring limits so that's manufacturer spending. I got a great, I'll send you this whole PDF, Oliver. just text me. I got you with that. But manufacturer spending, I mean, one thing that you can do, for example, is let's say I got two credit cards. I use one to go to Best Buy, and I purchased $10,000 worth on my credit card of such. Let's say I go back the next day and I refund it all. Well, I can refund that money onto any card, and I can put it onto a debit card, so that 10,000 now is liquidated from my credit card and transferred over to my debit card, and now that's where I could be able to move some money as such. So some sauce to end out today. Appreciate you always, being cooperating, my guy Oliver, and asking great questions. I know that's going to, have your mind racing right now, bro. So just shoot me a text and I got you with the PDF. But I appreciate all y'all being here, man. Peace and love.